our Wednesday, May 16th, 2012 regular Board of Education meeting. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call.
You want to just move around the table?
Mrs. Capabianca? Here. Mr. Cavanero? Here. Mrs. Homer here. Mr. Kisco?
Here.
Mr. Marola?
Here.
Mr. Nargi?
Present.
Mr. Oliver?
Present.
Mr. Rivera?
Here.
Mr. Tebow?
Here.
Mr. Traub?
Here.
Mrs. Batchelder? Mrs. DeMonico? Here. Mr. Jocelyn?
Here.
Mr. Quacko? Here. Mrs. Quacko, sorry. Mayor Bingham is not here. Matt Cavanero?
Here.
Maggie Finn? Here. Christine Kidman?
Mr. Cavanero.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
He is not here.
you.
Okay. I'd just like to recognize and honor the 7th grade inventors from Torrington Middle School. I had the pleasure, many of us had the pleasure of seeing all of your inventions, and I was just blown away. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I hope that you get into the science, design, engineering, whatever you want to follow. Take your great ideas, your unbelievable ability to create with you. And on behalf of the Board of Education, and thank you parents for coming here again tonight and setting up one more time. Greatly appreciate that for your time. So, and for raising such creative kids. On behalf, thank you. And you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Okay, school and community session. The board invites members of the community to speak on topics to be addressed in the agenda or on topics of interest. Individuals wishing to make comments are requested to fill out the speaker sign-up sheet, including name and address, which must be stated at the beginning of your comments. The board will not allow comments regarding specific staff members or personal grievances. Courtesy is expected in this limited public forum. The participating time will be limited to 3 minutes per person, 10 minutes overall to guarantee the efficient operation of the entire meeting. Is there anyone on the list?
No one on the list.
No one on the list. Okay. Item 3, approval of agenda. A motion to approve the agenda by Daniel, second by Andrew. Discussion. No discussion? Okay. All those in favor? All right, my bad. Okay. Number 4, approval of meeting minutes from the April 18th meeting. Got a motion? David, second. Christopher. Discussion.
Correction to the minutes, there was a name left off the consent agenda list of resignations from last meeting. Daniel Reichenbach does not appear in the minutes as he is a resignation.
Okay, so noted. Any other discussion on the meeting minutes from the April 18th meeting? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? 1 abstention, Mr. Peter. Okay, informational sharing session. Student representative, school news.
We'll start with the THS news. We just ended the 2 weeks of AP testing, so that's all over, thankfully. We just finished a very popular showing of the spring musical, The Wiz. The second annual distracted driving event is this Friday, all day at THS, and it's an event for all senior gym classes to learn about the dangers of distracted driving, including texting and driving. And it's sponsored by the Mayor's Committee on Youth and All-Star Transportation, and it's a free event for the school. We have big end of the year events coming up in the next 2 weeks, including senior outing, mock crash, prom, senior breakfast, and the second annual class wars. Student Council would also like to thank everyone in the community who supported the graduation yard sign fundraiser. We sold over 150 signs all around town, and it includes great donations from central office, Board of Ed members, and even all the way down to the elementary schools. We hope to create a new Torrington tradition. Finally, the student council elections were today, and results are being tallied. Next month, we will be able to introduce the new student reps for next year. Oh,
Okay.
wait. I just forgot. Okay, I have one more thing. One of our student representatives, Matt Cavanero, has been nominated for the second year in a row as a finalist in the Connecticut Young Writers Competition. Only teachers from public schools, charter schools, arts, academic, and private prep schools can submit student writing to the competition, and Matt was selected as one of 10 finalists from over 1,000 submissions. His AP English teacher is Patricia Kozak, who submitted the stories on Matt's behalf. And Matt may be the only student to have been nominated for this honor 2 years in a row. And you can see the finalist list posted at ConnecticutYoungWritersTrust.org. So, go next.
We've received a tip from a humble fan.
From Southwest School, this Friday the Junior Achievement Program will visit Southwest School. This program is comprised by area businessmen and women who present hands-on activities and demonstrations to all students in grades K through 5. Students develop a clear understanding of their roles at customers and their responsibility to be informed and productive citizens. The lessons presented closely align to our district curriculum in social studies, as well as the Connecticut standards. We enjoy our relationship with Junior Achievement and appreciate the connection to many volunteers who share their expertise with our staff and students. From Torrington Middle School, 8th grade students are traveling to Washington, D.C. Monday, Thursday through Thursday of next week, and looking forward to learning about the nation's capital. 6th grade students had a visit from Soundwaters in preparation for their trip to the Long Island Sound later this month. Band, chorus, and orchestra concerts were held in May, showcasing the talent in our school. Students from Italian classes were honored at the Connecticut Children's Film Festival, sponsored by Education Connection for their PSAs, sending the message against smoking. 23 students represented TMS at the Connecticut Invention Convention at UConn in stores and won multiple awards for their creativity and inventiveness. At Torrington School, last week they celebrated Grandparents and Senior Friends Day. Because our school is large, we now schedule 2 days for this event. Grandparents are asked to assemble in the cafeteria to enjoy breakfast treats and are welcomed by Mrs. Todoro. Members of the Student Senate assist in helping our guests find their classrooms where they have the opportunity to participate in a variety of activities. Doyle's Medical Supply generously donates wheelchairs every year for those students who may need one. Our PTO organizes and provides all the delicious treats. This is truly a wonderful event that celebrates our connection to families. We look forward to it every year. In our main lobby, every morning from 8:50 to 9:30, students and families are donating their pennies to support our fundraising for technology. This week only, the boys are at war with the girls, and the winner will be announced next Wednesday, May 24th. Next week, we will be screening approximately 90 incoming kindergarten students out of the potential 116 on our list. We always enjoy meeting our new students and their families. And lastly, from East School, on May 10th, senior songwriter John Farrell spent the day at East School. He also returned that evening to perform a concert for parents and families. An unexpected bonus was a Zulu dance troupe he brought with him from South Africa. Again, they'd like to thank their PTO for sponsoring such an amazing experience. And tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, our students will perform in our annual spring concert. Please join if you can. And lastly, our 5th graders are looking forward to their DARE graduation, which will take place on May 29th and at 6 p.m.
That's all. Thank you.
Well, we recognized our inventors, and now I would like to take the time to represent our jazz ensemble. They participated in the Waterford High School Jazz Festival. And the following students placed: Thomas Kalaki, outstanding musician, the Jazz Festival; Corey Dumont, and I think 3 members were not able to come, but it was Corey Dumont, outstanding musician; Jasmine Bailey, outstanding musician; and Jasmine Bailey, best overall soloist. And Representative Cook?
Do I need to come up there?
Yes.
Easy, careful.
Careful, careful.
Just want to see you succeed at the obstacle course.
Cheryl, you want to come up?
Oh.
I can do the class. No, if I had to do the obstacle course, so do you. You did it in high heels. For you, dear. The State of Connecticut, the General Assembly, official citation from myself, Representative Willis, Senator Woodcoast, and Rohrabaugh. Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to the Torrington Public School District in recognition for your outstanding achievements of being selected as a Best 100 community for music education. Out of the thousands of school districts in the United States, Torrington has been a shining example of outstanding arts in music and creativity. You are a beacon to the over 500 students who rise up to the great music performances in band, chorus, and orchestra. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope and continued success. Signed today by President Don Williams, Speaker of the House Chris Donovan, and Secretary of State Denise Merrill.
Okay. Let's see, where's our band member?
You can receive this honor. So you can pass this on. So the State of Connecticut and the General Assembly, an official citation, be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut House of Representatives hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Mr. S. and the Torrington High School Jazz Band in recognition for your awards for Best Saxophone, Trombone, Outstanding Musician Awards, and Best Overall Soloist. Under the direction of Mr. S., we commend your service to the arts and your dedication, and it is because of such efforts that Torrington is providing excellence in music, and we thank you for your perseverance and success. The entire membership extends its best wishes on this memorable occasion, signed today by the Speaker of the House, President Pro Tem, and Secretary of the State.
Superintendent report on online learning.
Okay. An updated from 5/11/12 is we have 57 students still currently enrolled, and they're enrolled in 91 courses. 8 of these students have completed a total of 16 courses among them, 5 seniors and 3 juniors. One student, a senior, has completed 1 course and has 2 more courses to complete in order to graduate in June. Another senior has completed 3 courses and is taking Spanish 1 online just for fun. She will graduate in June. T is a senior, has completed 1 course and has 1 more course to complete in order to graduate. Another senior completed 5 courses and will graduate in June. Another senior has completed 1 course and will graduate in June. And a junior has completed 1 course and has 1 more course to complete to put her back on track to graduate a year from now. Another junior completed 2 courses, and another junior completed 2 courses. And during the summer, we'll complete 2 more courses to get her on track to graduate next year. There have been 90 hours and 48 minutes logged, and the most hours a student has logged since February. It's the 90 hours, 48 minutes. So one child is really using this method to get his or her credits. Students are passing or have completed 94% of the classes that they have started. So that's 79 out of 84 students have completed courses. Of the students who were previously failing in the traditional classroom, they are now passing and/or have completed 92% of their corresponding online course, 45 out of 49. 24 seniors are taking a total of 49 online courses in order to make the deadline in June. And of the courses these seniors have started, 91% have passing grades, or 41 out of 45 students. So I truly believe that this has been a good investment for our school district.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Kelly Services?
Mr. Jocelyn?
In your packet, I shared the executive summary of the Kelly Substitute Services Summary Report, the same one that I presented to the Budget Committee recently. The summary attempts to respond to two questions. One, how does the use of Kelly Substitute Service benefit Torrington Public Schools? And two, what are the comparative costs between Kelly Services and doing the program in-house? Those of us that were working in the district and following this kind of thing know that back in 2009, we contracted with Kelly Services to begin to provide substitute coverages. In the past, we had done it in-house. One of the issues that we were having doing it in-house is a low fill rate. In the summary, I took a busy time of the year, February, March, when we tend to get busy with illnesses, things of that nature. That period of time, February 19th, 2008 through March 19th, 2008, I looked back to see what our coverage rate when we were providing the service in-house, and found that our fill rate was about 77%, which means that we had a number of classes on any given day left unfilled and required principals, of which I was at one point scrambling to cover classrooms. At the same period this past year, February 19th through March 19th, our fill rate was 98%. In that entire time, there were only 6 positions left unfilled, as opposed to 17 during that same period back in 2008. So, and that's pretty consistent. We're right around 98, 99% fill rate most of the time. You would think part of that would be the economy with the number of people looking for substitute positions, but we've never dipped below 97% in all the years that we've been with Kelly. So we're putting teachers and we're getting coverage in those classrooms and in the paraprofessionals on a more consistent basis through Kelly Services. Value added, Kelly offers training, professional development for their staff, orientation for their substitutes. They have access to optional health benefits, which we hadn't provided in-house. They have an available 401k plan. They have the opportunity to earn paid vacation, an active recruiting program, and part of their our contract with them is a sophisticated tracking software which goes along with it, and we use it for all groups, whether they have substitutes or not, to track what's going on with our absences. They also include an evaluation program where teachers can evaluate substitutes as they use them, make recommendations. Principals can go on and evaluate substitutes. So it's pretty good from that standpoint. As far as the costs are concerned, Kelly charges the district 1.38% on each substitute. That translates to a substitute earning $71 or $75 per day, depending upon how long they've been working with us. Costs the district $97 to $103 per substitute per day. So the markup is $26 to $28 roughly. Substitutes continue to earn for paras are hourly, they earn $11.20. The same 1.38 markup comes out to be $12.74 per hour. At one time, when we first negotiated this contract, the markup was 1.4%. We have since negotiated that down as of last year to the current 1.38. The measurable costs in terms of doing our own, we look back, and these are 2008 numbers, so certainly these were in some cases would be going up. Unemployment costs us about $20,000. The software that we used for tracking substitutes, the site license at the time was about $4,500. Clerical overtime, because people don't call in sick during 9 to 5, they call in sick early in the morning. We need to get the substitutes in place, so oftentimes we would ask the secretary that was handling that to come in at 5 in the morning and start their work day and stay later in the day to make sure that the coverages were in place for the next day. Social Security was an added cost. Medicare, teachers is a separate situation for Social Security and Medicare. Secretary cost, we did not replace the person who used to handle substitutes in the district. So in general, it's estimated that the yearly cost would be about $107,900 plus the cost of the subs, estimated at about $494,000 for a total program cost of $602,000. Just in comparison, last year for a full year, we paid $573,782 to Kelly for the same services. So, conclusion, we have to consider the importance of making sure that there are qualified people in those classrooms every day. 77% isn't good enough. 98% is much better, not ideal, but a much better fill rate. I found one interesting fact as I was going through this, that a student K to 12 spends about the equivalent of 1 full year with a substitute teacher in the classroom. It's important to make sure that we have quality teachers in there. That's a year out of the student's academic career K to 12. The report illustrates that we are spending more money for each substitute due to the contractual markup. However, it offsets some of the in-house costs on the administrative end. Substitutes are expensive. There's a lot of reasons that people are out. And what I did was I did provide a breakdown in your packet of the aggregate reasons for absences. And I wanted to point out, as I did with the budget committee, that these are instances of absences, not necessarily days. So you're looking at numbers that look astronomical, but those would include half days, a couple of hours here or there. But we want to know how many times, what are the instances of teachers outside the classroom. I broke it out into contractual time, professional time, sickness, and miscellaneous. We had a few that didn't categorize, but we've kind of corrected that problem. I mean, a bulk of our substitute money is spent on sickness, so I can just kind of give you an idea there. Illness is about 25, family illness accounts for about 25% of the instances. Personal illness, about 55%. And then we have medical leave and workers' comp that rounds out those particular categories. It's a huge expense. We're constantly working with staff. We're looking at wellness programs to try to stave off some of the need for people missing work and tracking illnesses from that standpoint. We're looking at back-to-work transition programs for people that have been out on leave and out on workers' comp. It's shown that you can reduce days on leave if you have a transition program where people come in and perform light-duty tasks and so on and so forth, so that you can get them back to work, transition them back as quickly as possible. Obviously, we're concerned about safety, we're concerned about spreading illness, so you have to be careful with those kinds of things, but it has shown to alleviate some of those issues. So in general, we're very happy with Kelly Services. I think they provide a good service. It is costly, would be costly either way, either in-house or outside, and we get the value added as well as the fill rate with Kelly, which is shown to be a good value for us. Questions?
Yes.
Who staffs for Kelly? Who makes the staffing decisions?
The principals can go online and request specific subs. The teachers can go online and request specific subs. As far as recruiting, Kelly does their own recruiting and goes out, makes sure that they're credentialed and have the proper education level and so on and so forth.
Do principals do an assessment of the subs?
Constantly, it's one of the nice things about the software is they can give instant feedback. If they don't want to sub back in their particular building for some reason, they can immediately block that sub from in the classroom, as teachers can too. If a sub hasn't worked out for them, they can request that sub not be used in their classroom again.
And once I got on the board, it was a large number. The number has stayed still large.
Yeah.
Not saying it's good, bad, but it's just a large number that the board should always look at trying to somehow reduce. Just to throw this idea out, is there any way that we progress with the technological development of online learning and that whole concept that at some point, instead of actually using people, we can put kids into an online mode for a day or a week or something of that nature?
I suppose it's something, we haven't talked about it, Mr. Nargi, it's something we could look at in the event that all teachers are to leave substitute plans. In the event they have an emergency illness, I would assume that at some point, teachers are going to catch on to the fact that that might be a good emergency plan in the event that they were one of the 2 or 3% where a substitute couldn't get, or if you have a very highly specialized class, a physics class, kind of hard to find a substitute teacher that could teach physics. It might be a good way to get that AP physics class some real rigorous instruction for that particular day. So it's something to think about, something we haven't done, but might be something to look at, particularly for those positions that you don't want to babysit an AP physics class. Typically, those kids can pretty much do their own thing, but they're not challenged on that day, and that might be a way to challenge them.
Could also do the flip class.
Yeah.
Where the teacher puts the lesson up on YouTube or has it all, and students can look at it in the class that day, at home the night before, and then there'll be something for them to follow through with the next day while they're in that class.
And just
You need to have a qualified adult take attendance
Right.
and provide supervision for the students, but I agree with Ms. Johnson. The only barrier to that would be the district would need to own enough licenses to accommodate the entire class at one time, and they would have to have access to a computer lab probably for the 5 periods that the teacher would be absent. And there's a lot of competition for the computer lab time for whole group instruction. So those would be the only issues that we need to address.
And in thinking about it, if it was a planned absence, teacher was going to be away for the day for whatever reason, knew ahead of time, they could reserve the time and get something really productive done that day. Might be, I believe that's something we can discuss.
John, you have anything here? Feels that?
Are there instances where substitute teachers become full-time staff based on performance and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
About how often does that happen?
More at the elementary, it seems like. The principals, I mean, it's a good tryout. You get to see the people with kids, and rather than just relying on an interview,
Yep.
you've actually seen them working.
Right.
I would say we probably have, since we started with Kelly, probably 4 or 5 teachers that were hired that got their start substituting. We encourage them to do that. What we do more often is we take them and use them for from a daily sub to a long-term sub. Because it's a little different coming in one day here, one day there. If we get a 40-day plus, we're required to put a permanent certified sub in that room. Typically, we'll use a Kelly sub, and those tend to be the people that really prove themselves in good positions. Yeah, good
David,
proving
do you have
ground.
another question?
No, good, thank you.
Okay. Budget review status. The city council met on Monday. The city side was able to find an additional $38,000 worth of efficiencies to the $258,000 that was proposed as a cut. That was approved on the city side. It was duly noted by several city council members that they will be looking for the Board of Ed to be proportionally conservative. So they're looking to take our $342,000 cut and increase it by $43,000 because the city is 47% of the budget, we're 53% of the budget. So since the city found 38 additional, they want us to find 43,000 additional. The meeting is tomorrow night. It's just proportional.
Mr. Chairman, could you please explain the logic?
Paul,
The logic?
Trick question.
Well, there was a duplication of recording, that two departments had recorded the same position, so they were able to find that efficiency through that.
Because there's
So-
a math error.
So it's proportionally assumed that we made the same mistake,
Find similar
and
errors.
that we can proportionally find the same math error. Proportionally?
That's
It's just they pick a number.
I was a joke.
I know.
It need to be made. But it was the real answer. Yeah, I know. That's even funnier.
So tomorrow we find out from the Board of Finance, we'll be finalizing a budget tomorrow. We'll be there at 5 o'clock. As soon as we know, we'll let everybody know. If you want to attend, you're more than welcome, 5 o'clock at City Hall. And then we will be attending the teacher's retirement there. So, Common Core Standards Review.
Okay, this is, the board has previously had a presentation on the Common Core Standards to introduce the ideas. So this is an update of information that we have learned over the course of the last few months. Let's see if I can work it here. These are some of the headlines that have been occurring in educational publications over the last few months to give you an idea of the scope of the change that is being initiated by the Common Core. Raises PD opportunities and questions, must include teacher development, searching for Common Core resources, the pace of educational change quickens, loosening seat time requirements, driving a wedge in education circles. So you can see that this is a very big thing in education, and is requiring a lot of planning and a lot of mobilization of resources in order to carry it out effectively. This is a quote from the implementation guide in another state that really, I think, captures some of our challenges. We need strong leadership, we need well-prepared teachers. In order to be successful, our teachers must really thoroughly understand what we want students to know and be able to do. They must be able to deliver this information through a variety of instructional strategies, and that is some work that is always ongoing in the district, but is especially crucial at this time with the new standards. Just to give you an example, these are some terms from the Common Core Standards which would not be familiar to an educator if they weren't working on these through professional development and through professional reading on their own in current times. These are terms that were not part of their teacher preparation program and is very much new learning. Close reading refers to a strategy for looking at a complicated work. Text complexity deals with developmental levels, balanced literacy between fiction and nonfiction works, text-based answers, deep understanding and coherence, more application in math, and in general, a new definition of what we mean by academic rigor, depth of knowledge, and mindset. The idea that all students, regardless of their background and previous experience, are still held to high standards. All of these areas will be impacted by the shift to the Common Core over the next several years. The first and most obvious one are changes in alignment in curriculum. in new practices that will be necessary in order to deliver the curriculum, in assessment tools, and at a future meeting I'll address what we've learned about the smarter balanced assessments coming up. We'll need to thoroughly develop our staff so that they understand what is in the standards and how to implement them. We're going to be looking at new programs, textbooks, and instructional materials. I can make one comment that our elementary math consulting teacher basically said our current math program has been rendered obsolete by the Common Core standards, and we've been in the process of investigating the resources that we will need to do in order to properly address the topics at each grade level that are now assigned through the Common Core. We'll probably be looking at staffing models, in grading, standards-based report cards potentially, on scheduling models, how do we deliver services to students who are expected to master all of the content for their grade level within a single year? What do we do to reteach and remediate and accelerate students? And potentially have to take a look at graduation requirements, which we're going to be forced to do by the state anyway, based on existing legislation. The Common Core standards, if you look at the literature, really change the way in which school is done. It shifts the focus from student learning and not teacher coverage. It used to be sufficient for a teacher to get through the curriculum and to deliver a fixed body of knowledge to students, and for students to be able to prove that they learned those facts, those skills that the teacher had determined to be necessary. Now we're looking at fewer topics and greater depth, and the focus is on learning, not just getting through the curriculum or finishing the textbook. In the Common Core standards, strategies and skills precede content. So the goal is not just to memorize a fixed body of knowledge, but to be able to use that knowledge to solve tasks and problems. The focus is on there being many possible and correct answers, not the right answer. That's especially true in math, where there might be multiple ways to solve a problem that may result in somewhat different applications. And for it to be very student-centered, for the teacher constantly to be using assessment tools to say, what does the student need to do in order to master the information, and to provide as many choices and options as possible to connect the student and the content. So there may be, rather than the class reading one classic core novel, instead of everybody reading Beowulf, we might have 2 or 3 different pieces of literature that address the same topics and themes that are leveled according to different reading levels, that will allow students to learn what it is they're supposed to learn through interacting with the literature. In math, what we've noticed is many topics are changing grade levels. Many are being introduced much, much earlier. Many are being introduced in kindergarten now. Kindergarten is a very academic year. And I think that explains why, and Cheryl can probably attest to this, so many of districts around the state are moving to full-day kindergarten models. In English language arts, there is a great shift from literature to teaching nonfiction literacy skills at the 2nd level. In fact, in a traditional English language arts curriculum, the curriculum is made up of a series of core novels. They tend to be classic novels, ones that all of us around the table probably experienced, Old Man and the Sea, and Of Mice and Men, and everyone can contribute their favorite one, the heads are nodding. But 70% of the content now in the Common Core standards deals with nonfiction reading strategies, because in the real world, most of us spend close to that proportion of time reading nonfiction work in our daily jobs. We don't tend to spend 70% of our time reading fiction and literature in our daily work. Anybody here? Okay.
I forgot what reading for fun was like.
There is less whole group instruction and more customization through a workshop model, where students will have the ability to work on a task and then meet in smaller groups with the teacher to get individual attention. There will be less teacher presentation and coverage and more project-based application of learning, and greater flexibility in what is taught, how it's taught, and for how long it's taught. So it's not, once again, the idea of there being pacing guides getting through a body of material is changing a bit. So this year, Administration and teacher leaders have attended a number of conferences and workshops to learn about the Common Core standards and to learn about these changes. Teachers have been meeting in grade level groups, department groups, with administrators, with the instructional coaches, with myself, to learn about the content of the Common Core standards and to see what we can keep doing and what we need to change. Our instructional leaders have modeled lessons, we've been developing units and curriculum items so that we can give them a real clear sense of what this is going to look like in practice. We've been sharing videos of lessons that model these types of strategies. And we've been assembling teacher and instructional resources so that we're able to provide our teachers with those tools that they need to deliver the curriculum. If you visit our curriculum website right now, you'll notice that the content on there is different than it was a couple months ago. Our K-2 topics have been updated. Teachers have been piloting new materials, and we've been implementing math centers in the elementary schools. Teachers have been meeting to better understand the expectations and to realign topics. I attended a secondary math department meeting the other day, and teachers were working on practice assessment items so that they could get a sense for what students are going to be asked to do. And at the sixth grade, the reading and writing courses have been combined so that they can better address the goals of the English language arts curriculum. We are going to need to continue to decide on math sample curriculum maps. We've adapted a really exceptionally well done series from a group called Common Core that we're using as models for the work that's being done. We're going to continue to need to do professional development on the new strategies because this is not the way the teachers were prepared to teach in their teacher preparation programs. We're going to continue to build the capacity of classroom teachers and identify teacher leaders who can act as resources for their grade levels or departments. And we need to provide time for teachers to make sense of these standards so that they can understand what practices they can continue to use and where they're going to need to make changes to give students the kind of experiences they need on a daily basis to be successful in mastering content at this level. So it's ongoing work. I'm sure that we will be continuing this throughout the next year. I anticipate it's about a 3-year process to transition over, but that coincides very nicely with our curriculum review and revision cycle. We'll be picking up with English language arts, with math and science next summer, and then English language arts and social studies the summer after that. This summer was the year that we were addressing all of our non-core content areas. So we have curriculum teams meeting this summer for art, music, physical education and health, career and technology education, library, media science. So it was their turn to have a chance to look at their K-12 curricula, and we're addressing many of the needs related to technology education for our students in the work that's being done this summer, so that we can be sure to provide students with opportunities as early as kindergarten, but more intensely in 2nd grade, so that they're prepared to be tested online. That's part of the work this summer.
Thank you. The Board of Education.
Second question.
Oh, yes.
Demonstration I just saw, I think everybody agrees core curriculum. I mean, this all to me seems like very well thought out by highly intelligent people, professionals in their field, but it seems to be all in the bubble. It seems to be in the bubble. And I think after, our collective experience doing what we do here, we recognize that a huge portion, a huge part of the failure of public education, no matter what's inside the bubble, is what happens outside the bubble. So the people who are putting together this proposal, I mean, is there any thought and effort to what to do about the problem of parents who don't have any connection with their kids' education? Because it seems to me none of this is actually going to, it will just fail in different ways, unless that problem of how do you deal with parents who don't sense that they have to do something themselves once that kid gets off the bus to improve education. And is there anybody trying to address what those problems? Because those to me will affect this far more than whether or not we have enough professional development for teachers to teach the new blah, 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 blah. it's not gonna matter if these kids get off the bus, if they go home and there's just nothing to reinforce what they've been learning. So, I mean, how is that portion of the failure of public education being addressed at the appropriate level?
Parent engagement, there's a whole piece to the whole reform packet that came out and was signed by the governor yesterday. There's a whole piece of how we engage parents.
Can we see a presentation on that? Because it seems to me that unless boards of education get behind that as much as they get behind this, we're just,
Your
The
your
whole-
July,
Go ahead.
well, our July meeting is probably gonna be consumed mostly by what happened with House Bill.
428.
okay, beautiful, we can get into it then.
Cheryl spent yesterday and today between the state and the superintendent's group getting debriefed. Sue was up at Ed Connection yesterday and. Yesterday. And also getting debriefed and gonna put together a package of what the key points are, how they're gonna impact us. The important thing to remember is none of it is funded. There's gonna be some major changes coming down the line here, and there's new money to go with it. So,
That's all.
that's a whole other issue, but-
You know where I'm going with, I think, I
Yes.
hope the board, the rest of the board, I don't know if they do, but to me, it seems like unless there's that kind of thought put into,
Yeah.
I mean.
We all know the
every day.
benefits of parental engagement in education. The problem is that it's a one-way conversation. We need to get the public, we need to be able to reach those parents that we're not reaching somehow, some way. We need to find a way to get them to funnel into our doors and into our classrooms.
Well, and
And
that's.
I don't know how to have that conversation, but we
But it
all
has to
agree.
happen, David. It
I
has to
agree with you,
happen.
100%.
And whether it's the idea that, at the point of entry of putting funding and programs and processes in place to make parents, because they have the same obligation in education that teenage parents have, that the parents of teenagers have in terms of getting their kids a driver's license. And those same thought processes should apply, and the state has got to get behind that in a big way.
But
Or all this is just a waste of
But
time.
truancy used to impact the parents.
Right.
It doesn't anymore.
There
So
you
now,
go.
I mean, right there, you
One example right
disengaged them right there. If the kid doesn't go to school, the kid didn't go to school, what do you want me to do? I mean, in the past, there was a direct criminal connection there, that if you didn't bring your kid to school till the age of 18, there was a problem.
Right.
Now, it's just not there.
So,
But to get parents involved, I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, that's gotta be, to me, my experience, is that's gotta be walked in, that's gotta be hand in hand with what's in the bubble.
And there is a recommended model. Sue has put together 4 models for principals, which she shared in our principals meeting. But the state is going, saying, use this model to engage parents. And they had but they did have a whole weekend conference last year on it. But how you develop it,
I would hope the board would take up the challenge of us assessing that, and then through our leadership, having,
What we think is the best
a
model.
very direct conversation with our state representatives about what we think needs to be done.
actually, we do have the whole Even Start program is a piece about teaching parents quality parenting and getting them engaged. It teaches them how to get engaged, and.
I know it's not neat.
No, but I just want you to know when you say we had a lot of support last year
Right.
at the legislature to keep it going this year.
and you will be impressed that it does focus, the beginning of this focuses K through 3.
Great.
That's
Yes.
where they took this piece, you've been chiming on that for a while, and they took this piece and they really directed to start at a younger year. Instead of trying to grab them as seniors, they're trying to grab them. So, I mean, there'll be a period of time to get it to travel through the system, but,
But
that's what.
the other thing that, at least where I see a concern, or I feel a concern, is you go into the elementary schools and you have a feeling of more engagement there. It seems to be that we lose them in the transition between 5, 6, 7, and by the time they hit 8th to 9th, God willing, we did it right. But it seems that there's a transition there that we need to focus on. We need to really
Great point.
roll up our sleeves, because when you go to the sense that I get from people that I speak with is that there's a different level of parental engagement at the middle school fall off, almost a cliff, comparative to the response that you get when you go to an event at one of the elementary schools, which is teeming with children, teeming with brothers and sisters and grandmothers and grandfathers, both parents, and at the middle school you don't see that. And it's not a reflection of anything that our staff is doing at the middle school so much as, I don't know the time or energy we've taken to really sit down and analyze what happens there.
And I agree completely. I think so I'm saying strategy's got to be developed because
One of the components too that we're fortunate that they're asking about is what type of relationship do you have with preschool and kindergarten? And do we have alignment of the expectations of what is taught in preschool with our kindergartens? And yes, we do. We have a transition plan. We also have professional development. We share with pre-K and K. So we have a lot of what they're saying, because if you start engaging parents from the time the child is preschool, and we also work with licensed, NIAC accredited preschools and programs, and we work with private ones. We also work with home daycare providers so that they are aware of what the expectations for entering kindergarten are and what they'll be through the year.
Daniel, do you have anything?
I will simply say that I look forward to the administration's presentation next month after they've had time to digest what they've just learned and at least give us the high-level overview to start.
It'll be very detailed.
Yes,
We're
just
getting,
exasperate.
It's a 188-page document.
So we'll have a 185-page presentation for Sue.
No, 10, right?
10 to 12 slides.
205. Sorry, Sue.
Andrew?
What I sense from your presentation, Sue, is there seems to be a great emphasis on retooling teachers. And my question is, well, but the kids that are coming out of college who are mastering their craft as becoming educational teachers going forward, they're right out of school. Are they on top of this, or is the fact that even at that level, they're right at the highest level of education, getting their degree in education, to be a teacher, what's their lifespan of not having to be retooled again?
That's a fair question, and I think the timing is interesting because as part of the governor and the commissioner's education reform package, they have put together a group called the Connecticut P20 Council, and I've had the opportunity to serve on that group, which is addressing the dialogue between secondary educators, districts like ourselves, and higher education. And there are many areas in which higher education and the school districts are far apart and see things differently and play by different rules. But the P20 Council has opened that opportunity for us to sit around the table together and have dialogue about what we need to do to prepare teachers to be successful in today's classrooms and how teacher preparation programs need to change. And this meeting was attended by a wide variety of both public and private higher education institutions. Everyone from St. Joseph's and Fairfield University and the University of Hartford to the NIAC School of Education, representatives from Southern and Central as well. So they are aware of the fact that our current teacher education programs are not adequately preparing teachers to be immediately successful in the classrooms in our districts today for a variety of reasons, because of the growing diversity of our population, but also because of the changes in expectations of what instruction ought to look like. So that work is ongoing, and it's going to be like anything. It's going, Cheryl mentioned this earlier, it has to bump up through. So I think we'll begin to see some changes, but in terms of seeing changes in the actual product coming out of teacher education programs in the state of Connecticut, we're probably a couple of years away from that happening.
Do you think public
Just as we're-
education on this level is slow? We haven't seen anything till you've
It's eye-opening.
it's good for the professional development crowd.
John, do you have anything?
Colleges have never turned out people ready to jump right into a classroom and be 100% successful. We want to develop good teachers the way we want them to be good teachers, and that'll all happen. And I know that higher education doesn't like us to begin with because what we send them isn't good enough as raw material anyway. So there's well, that's what they say.
No, I'm
And,
not arguing that at all.
But they'll do their best, I'm sure, to get with the program because, and some of them are even driving these reforms, or at least have been a part of it. So.
Chris?
I'm just wondering, when I see the changes coming with textbooks and instructional materials, will be a rapid change that will require us to prepare ahead of time for costs. I mean, it just seems that all of a sudden we're going to have to replace, Bagels no longer relevant, so we need to buy whatever now is relevant.
Phase one of the educational publisher's response to this has been to say that everything that they're currently producing is aligned to the Common Core standards. And on closer examination, bits and pieces of it aren't. So part of the work that we've been doing at the district level is to determine what bits and pieces, what units, what chapters, what topics can be kept intact with our existing materials, and to identify where there are gaps. And we've been utilizing district funds this spring and in next year's budget to identify key areas where we have gaps and we need to purchase new materials to fill those gaps. We'll also be having teachers who will be working on units and pacing guides so that everyone has a clear idea of where to begin at the start of the year, and then to use the time that we have devoted during the year to continue that work collaboratively. That's another outcome of the new educational legislation, is a new view of professional development being done on a more individual or small group basis, counting professional learning community time, data team time, and other collaborative time towards professional learning rather than counting it towards seat time and workshops. So I think that will be helpful in allowing us to accomplish these goals.
So we're working to minimize how bad it will be.
We have to use what we have. And there are some things that will be obsolete, and there are other things that can move between grade levels, and then there are other things we will need to acquire.
Machiavelli will always be relevant.